and said, would you meet the fan club people? And she said, well, she'd not been well, and it was a big show, and she said, after the last night, you could come round. And so it was middle of November, it's very cold, and we all tramped round to the dressing room, and eventually she comes down, looks at us, and thinks, oh, follow me. And so I think she had this dress on, and that's how she looked. She just went, oh, follow me, up to the stage. So there was a party afterwards. And so we went to the party. And so Judy was a flitter. I also went to the party after the first television show. She was always here, there, she wanted to be certain everybody had a drink, and I'm way at the back there, because I was too shy. And so we all got to talk to her eventually. And all I can remember is these, and she wasn't like a film star giving you a gracious smile. She was very serious, and she looked at you with these enormous brown eyes, and as if what you were saying was really important. And I think I was quite inarticulate. I was appalled at myself. And there I am back there. And she loved it. People had scrapbooks, and they were showing her pictures, and she was laughing. And so that... then she goes back to America, and then she's not well with hepatitis, and she was really, really quite sick, and it was thought that she would never sing again. And suddenly, about 7:30 one morning in July, she arrived at Heathrow Airport on her own, on an aeroplane, which she'd never done, well, she hadn't gone across the Atlantic on an aeroplane. And she told Sid, I want to think about things. And so there was a press reception at Capitol Records, and Lorna and I were invited, and we went. And these are my 35mm slide pictures. And she had the black dress and the turquoise jacket, because she was still a bit tubby around the middle from the hepatitis. And so when children had to give her flowers, she was always very, very sweet to them. She would bend down and she would say, oh, this is such a hard thing to do, isn't it? And make them feel comfortable. And all these flowers that were given to her, she would say to people, make certain they go to a children's hospital, to liven up children's hospitals. She didn't want them thrown away or whatever. So they stuck her up on a stage and interviewed her, and she was really quite uncomfortable sitting up there, because there were about 100 press cameras and whatever. Now, whether or not she recognized Lorna and I as being friendly faces from 3 years ago at the Dominion, but she said, I want to get down and talk to you and be amongst you. And so that's mine. They took hundreds of pictures of her that day. Yeah. And that's her leaving, actually. Well, as she came off the stage, she came directly to us, and I had this vision. She had her hand out right. She came straight to me with her hand out and shook my hand and Lorna's hand and thanked. We always sent gifts to her at the hotel, and she asked about everybody and talked for a few minutes, and then had to go round and talk to the press. She must have been there about 3 hours. At one point, she was sitting on a seat, and they were all around her, this mass of people, and she was dealing with this, questions, and Lorna and I have written about it several times, And she said, I would like to live here. The pace is slower, and I feel happier here. So then she left, and as she left, she got in the car, and her fingers tapped the door handle. And I thought, oh, you're so glad that's over. I just sensed that she was relieved that she was leaving. Well, she went off to stay with Dirk Bogarde, and this basically is what she looked like when she came to me and spoke to me. So she went to stay with Dirk Bogarde, and then she went down to see Kay Thompson, who was in Rome at the time, and then when she came back, we heard she was going to make some recordings with Norrie Paramore. And Lorna called her up at the hotel and said, could Mrs. Coulson and I come and see you sing, because we haven't heard you sing for so long. Oh, yeah, I'm doing it 4 days. You know the days, 7:30, you know where it is, and St. John Wood. I will leave word with the guard. Well, the guard wouldn't let us in. So the next day we called, and she said, I will fix it. So when she arrived, with Sid, who'd just come in the car, she got us through the gates with her and took us up to the steps and down the corridor. Now, Judy normally wore flat shoes, black pants, and a flowered shirt. And so she was smaller than me. And we ran, and she scurried. She walked very, very, very fast. And there's three of us trying to catch up with her. And she's saying, I hope you won't be bored. I do hope you won't be bored. You know, we were in heaven. We weren't going to be bored, you know. And she was very, very polite. She was brought up in, you know, her father was a Rotary in church, and they were always brought up to be very polite. So everybody was introduced to everybody, you know. And then the people in the wanted to put us at the back of the studio, I expect, because we were and she said, no, I want the girls here, right here with me. So we sat about 3 feet behind her, and she sang 4 songs. And I could talk much more about that, but I want to get through the whole thing. So if anybody wants to hear about it afterwards. So this is Norrie Paramore, and he was the conductor, and he was great. And he remained with her. Now, Dirk Bogarde had said to her, why don't you do a concert on your own? What do you want these vaudeville people for? Just get up there, you know loads of songs. And she said, well, you want to kill me? And he said, no, open the act with a big band behind you, interval, and then finish. And so on 28th of August, she tried it out. And she really didn't know if it was going to work. And about halfway through it, she suddenly had this glint in her eyes like a child at Christmas. I've done it. Wasn't there the next Sunday, but that first time. And she then changed into the black pants and it's basically Carnegie Hall, that you all know. But she did it at the Palladium first. And she called, Dirk Bogarde was there, and she got him up on the stage, and he didn't want to come, and said, thank you very much, I did it. And then she sang, It's Only For You, or something.
It Never Was You.
It's Never Was You, that was his favourite song. And so then she did it the following Sunday, and then she went to Leicester and Manchester and did it, and maybe Birmingham, and then she went out to the American Air Force Base in Wiesbaden and did it for the soldiers there, and then in Paris and did it again in Amsterdam. This covered probably the 6 months that the family had come over, and Sid was there, and they lived in Carol Reed's beautiful house in Mayfair, and they appeared to be very happy. There was lots of photo shoots during that time, and finally at the end of the year, at the Palladium, twice she said it, I'm home now. This is now my new home, and everyone roared. You know, I think she wanted to go back to England, but to live in England, but then they went back and involved her with CMA and Freddie Fields and David Begelman, and she had a lot of debts, and he got her all these gigs all over America, and Carnegie Hall was the following April, which you've all heard Carnegie Hall. And then several movies, and then she came back again the next year to make I Could Go On. This is Lorna with Judy. Now, Lorna was very, she never wanted a photograph taken. She never asked Judy for anything, no signatures, nothing. She was always in the background, and so it was very hard to find pictures with Lorna. So she comes back to make this movie, and it's about a Jenny Bowman who's opening at the Palladium, so of course we're all at the Palladium. And so one day, we got there at 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. There was playback of Bluebird all day. And Judy would come out with her hair in rollers and talk to the extras. The extras were in the stalls, and all the other people, like fan clubs, and Christopher Finch was there. I talked to him one day, he was there too. All kinds of people who knew Judy or knew anybody got up there to watch her. And so Eliza was there. Eliza was doing all our mother's arm movements. And another day, these are shots from the Bluebird number, and that's very emotional for me. Then we went to the recording studio with her. There were 80 of us here at that time, and she recorded different songs, and I could go on singing. And then Lorna and I went back to the Palladium while she was filming this. And just recently, Steve Jarrett, a friend of mine, found a picture of Lorna and I in the box. Now, I honestly don't remember being in the box, but a few minutes later, the children arrived, and she left, and we bolted out the box and talked to her backstage. Now, shaking her hands and talking to her wearing the black dress, that I can remember. I don't actually remember being there. And just recently, John Purdue has found a picture of me at that recording studio. I have it on my phone, where there's a whole bunch of us sitting there, and you know, people do that. They spot and they say, there you are. It's funny. So again, we're up there in the audience, and that's of course Mort Lindsay with her there.